Hey, when the stress and worries of life happen in a marriage, married couples have an ally, each other.
Yes.
But what happens when one of you are struggling to deal with the stress? Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about that and much more here on this episode of Couples Pursuit Live.
Couples Pursuit.
Hello, this is Vincent
And Valerie
Woodard. And in this episode of Couples Pursuit Live,
we're going to talk about how to comfort your spouse when they're stressed, worried, or anxious.
Yes. Look, life can be stressful. Mm-hmm. I mean, between, the children, the work, finances, sometimes we battle with health issues. Mm-hmm. Just dealing with what we're going to eat, how we're going to eat more healthier and more economically. I mean, all those things right there, it can put a lot of pressure on a relationship if we don't know how to deal with it. We don't know how to talk to each other. Mm-hmm. And this episode, hopefully you will learn some ways to cope with if one of you are not really handling the stress or having a hard time handling the stress and the worries and maybe even being anxious about life right now, and how you can support that person. Mm-hmm. If this sounds like something that you might be interested in, I urge you to share this with at least 2 people that you know right now to come to mind, and maybe we can find a way to together get through this thing together and have be able to support each other. Mm-hmm. I think this will be a great thing. So thank you for joining us, and let's deal with some ways that we can support our spouse, baby, when we're having a hard time with one of us, maybe both, but we're talking about in this case too, if one is maybe handling or having a hard time handling the stress.
Yeah. One thing comes to mind for me. It's been many years ago when we were much younger, and I was really, really active in ministry in different areas. I believe I was the administrator, church secretary at the time. I was teaching the dance team. I was singing, and there were other things that were going on. And I was asking, there was a need, and I was asking my husband what he thought about me feeling the need, and he said, you could do it. You're capable of doing it. He said, but what's the toll that it's going to take on you? Because we're the ones who are going to, we being him and the children, are the ones who are going to see and feel. Mm-hmm. When you feel, stressed out or whatever, we feel that.
Yeah.
And so it was an eye-opener for me to help me realize that when I'm going through something, I'm not the only one.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And one of the strategies that enable to help a partner, like my wife said, I understand that, she wants to help. A partner she has a big heart. My spouse has a big heart. She loves to help people, and if she sees a need, she doesn't hesitate to jump in. We can be at a wedding or a funeral. We can be at a birthday party, hers or someone else's. It doesn't. She would jump in, and even our wedding night, I mean, my goodness, there's just so many things she was trying to handle. And I'm glad I wasn't there, because I would have been like, look, you better tell these bridesmaids that they got a job, But that's true. Sometimes we get in a situation where we want to be able to help, but we don't really count the cost, maybe, like what the toll it would take on you, and what will it pull away from your family,
right.
And men and women, one of the strategies I want to express is men and women can handle stress and worries different. I'm not saying we don't have emotions. Men have emotions, women have emotions. We all those things. But we all know our men, we kind of want to mansplain things. We want to try to fix things. We want to try to solve a solution to everything. Let's walk away from this meeting, adjourn. We got a verdict. And women sometimes they want to process the thing. They take the journey, the process, talk about it. Let's lay everything out on the table. So understanding that's one of the tips is that men and women process things differently, and that does not mean that they're wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Different is not necessarily wrong. And also, in thinking about how much responsibility we take on outside of the home, it's not necessarily about the time that it takes, but it's the toll that it takes that we have to consider. Because you can fit activities within your calendar, but how does it what's the outcome at the end of the day? Are you stressed? Are you too worn out to cook? Or if you cook, is it draining on you to do the dishes, or get the children ready for bed, or look at homework, or hear how their day was, or be there for your husband? Are you available? And if you're available, are you attentive for intimacy, or are you like, I'm tired, or I hope he don't bother me tonight because I sure don't feel like it, or
exactly. And dealing with that stress can be stressful.
Absolutely. Because our first I remember someone telling me many years ago, your first ministry is your home. During the time when I was busy like that in church, it's like your first ministry is your home. I see you out here, you doing this, you doing that, you doing this, you doing that. And sometimes Vince was at church and sometimes he wasn't. Early in our relationship, we had some struggles trying to get on the same page where that was concerned. And it was important that I learned how to take care of my home first. Yes. So that I could, be in order, first of all, in order, in God's order. I'm not talking about him commanding or demanding me to do anything, but in God's order, God is first, and then it's your spouse, and then your children, and then you put everything else in order. Church, work, activities, all those things come behind that. But when I wasn't doing that, it did bring on undue stress. So, and stress can come from doing a good thing, as well as it can come from doing a bad thing. Yes. As you stated before, it can also come in the form of health issues. Different struggles can bring stress on the body, and the toll that it takes on the body, it also sometimes takes on the mind and the spirit. Well, exactly.
And so another strategy that helped when maybe one couple was like, I don't know how we're going to get through this. I'm having a hard time, just dealing with whatever issue it is. Could be the issue within the relationship, the marriage, could have had an argument, could have had a disagreement about something, or it could be one with the kids, or our finances is tugging, and all those things. And they're expressing to you that they're being vulnerable to you, that they're having a hard time, dealing with it. Instead of just saying, I'm okay, but and then when we get to that point right there, it's like, well, if I was you, I don't understand why you're taking it so hard, because if I was you, I wouldn't feel that way, or I would do this or whatever. So another strategy that I want to offer is to validate the feelings and concerns. Listen to your partner. Their feelings are their feelings, and that's what they are. They here, they're now. And we cannot just bypass it, whitewash it, because maybe you don't quite feel like this is the way that it should be dealt with, but you know what, your partner, your spouse, they're dealing with it right now, and maybe in that way. And so they're dealing with it in a way that you might say, I might not have handled it like that, but I can see it's real for them, it's heavy on them. But validate that with things like, I understand this is hard, and I understand that you're you're having a hard time dealing with it, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. Right. Just talk to them and let them know that I'm here with you. I hear you, and I'm here for you.
Right. Right. And you know what? If you have a discussion, because we say, what we're talking about is how to comfort your spouse when they're stressed, worried, or anxious. If you take the time not to just attack or talk about their situation or address their situation, when you take the time to really assess their situation and say, honey, I notice X, Y, and Z. You don't seem relaxed, or you haven't really been sleeping well. You've been tossing, turning a little bit. Now your appetite has changed. Or I notice when this happens, this happens with you. Let's talk about that. What's going on with you? How are you feeling? How is work? Is something different? And then once you talk about that, if they are able to open up to you and share, then you can relieve some of that anxiety And you can also help them to see when you get an opportunity okay, so you have this and you have that, and then this happened and that happened. Okay, and then after that, you had this situation. And remember, before that, you had to take care of your mom because X, Y, and Z. So maybe you should think about taking a day, taking some time.
Yeah.
Or this evening when you get home, I will take care of the thing that you normally take care of. And, you just take a nap or whatever it is. So you get to really see what's going on with them, and then you get them to talk about it so they hear what's going on, and then they can be like, you know what, that is a lot. Maybe I do need to back up. Because had you never said what you said to me before, I probably would still been like the road runner. I gotta do this, and I gotta do that, I gotta do this, and I gotta do that. And I don't gotta do none of that. I don't got to.
It's interesting that before my go-to was I'm okay. I'm good. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm good. Because it's like, maybe you might not hear that, but in at work, we said things like, man, I ain't taking this work home with me, man. I ain't talking about nothing about work. I ain't, when I leave work, I'm done with it. But we're not really done with it, And so sometimes when I come home, I'm making a conscious effort. I've been doing this for years, but I started making a conscious effort of saying, you know what, baby, yeah, I did have a day,
Yeah.
I had this happened because I want to get it out. You might see it on my countenance. You might, you see something weighing on me, and I noticed that if it's weight heavy on me, and then I try to go throughout our day, and act like nothing is bothering me, you are carrying the weight of that too.
Right. It seeps out. It's like I don't know what to call it. Yeah. But I feel it. Yeah. It's there.
Yeah. So being able to say, you know what, baby? Yeah, I had a day. It did. Whoa. Okay. Let me just. And I'm not saying we're gonna tell everything. We're gonna spill it. We just let's open the valve and just say, look, baby, this is what happened right here. Whatever we're here, and then. But I made it through, and I feel, I'm glad I'm home.
Yeah. And then if you didn't get the validation at work, maybe you can get that validation at home. You know what, honey? Yeah. I agree with you. I think you were right. Or, you might need to back down a little bit because that's if that's what you said, that probably wasn't the right thing to say or do. And then you get to decompress, and you get to hear that from someone who loves you. So then you can go back to work with a sense of relief because you're not holding your breath with everything that you carry home from work and then carrying it right back to work the next day. So that was another strategy was the validated concerns. The first one we had was knowing that stress can affect men and women differently. Not saying that it's not real in both cases, but they can handle it different. But recognize that. Understand that about your spouse, and so you can know, well, they process things this way and I process things that way. It's not saying either one of them are right or wrong, but that's just what happens. And then we'll talk about validate. So another one I think will be very beneficial for you, for anybody, for us too, in a relationship, is to when your spouse is having a day, it's like my wife stated earlier, do some small things to help them out. Even more. I know you said, well, I do all the time. Well, you know what? Your spouse is struggling. They're struggling right now. Whatever this issue is, they're struggling. So how about, if you normally don't do the dishes, maybe I got the kitchen tonight. I got all of this. You might come in and try to get stuff out the pan or whatever, baby. I got all this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Wash the clothes. You normally don't wash the clothes. Yeah. Fold whatever to help ease the stress that's already on them. They'll take something off their plate. It's too much. Right. You got to carry it with two hands and they're about to sprain the hand. Yeah. That's true. And those small things like that, that I think will bring you a lot closer. And just knowing that person is there for you. He sees me, she sees me, she understands, she senses that something is going on, and not and is not selfish about it. Not like, well, honey, the day that I had, or if you knew how I felt,
exactly.
what about me,
et
cetera, et cetera. I find that if we put one another first, we never have to worry about anybody going without anybody lacking. Now, I like to say my husband is nicer than I am. I think he's more patient than I am in many ways. He does not get as wound up as easily as I do, and that helps me because when he is the counter, oftentimes I can come to him and say, "Listen, babe,
is this too much?
Am I tripping? Your wife. I'm a thinker, and sometimes I'm an overthinker, and sometimes I have to remind myself of what the word says: be anxious for nothing, and in everything with prayer and supplication, let my request be known unto God. And supplication just means, specific prayer. Let my request be known to God, and that if I keep my mind stayed on him, he'll keep me in perfect peace. So when I find myself getting anxious, I self-check, I self-evaluate, but sometimes I also need him to be a sounding board, much like last night.
Yeah.
I needed you to be a sounding board because, it was night before, but sometimes you just I need to get things off my chest and I need to hear. But not only do I do that, I will check in with him and say, how you doing, babe? How you feeling?
Yeah.
I know if we're going through something, I know I might handle something one way. But even though he doesn't display his emotions the same way that I do, I still want to check in with him and say, well, how you feeling about it? What is it? Are we okay? Is there something, that I can do, et cetera, because it's not just about you. And so what do you do when both spouses are stressed?
Well, I think you kind of started, you probably started answering the question with your last statement.
Okay.
Is that checking in, because we do a fantastic job of, that's kind of how we start our conversation. It's not just, I call you, say, baby, I need you to take the clothes out the laundry. I need you to go do this, and I need you to go do that. It's like, hey, babe.
How you doing? Yeah.
It's our kind of a default, because it's like, I want to see what's going on, with you. And the same with me. When you call me, you're like, babe, how you doing? You're like, okay. And maybe it might be something urgent, or maybe it might not be something urgent. Maybe she just called and say hello and all that good stuff. She does all that. But I'm just saying, either way, we check in with one another. And I say check in like we're away, but it's like maybe check on. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's that, hey, let me just see. I want to make sure you're good, you're stable.
Yes. Yeah, it's not just about what I want. It's like, hey, give me what I want. Hello, I need you to do this. Hello, can you do such and such and such? And bye. It's like, okay, well, how's it going? Because he could be in the middle of a mess. Sometimes there are lots of little fires he has to put out at work, and he has a small group that he works within. His department is very small, and so if someone is absent, something goes lacking, he has to be there to pick up the slack. And I can't just assume because I need to talk to him that he could just drop everything that he's doing and, answer my question and solve my problems.
Well, I always answer the phone. If I'm near the phone, I'm going to answer the phone. My wife, everybody. My wife is on the phone.
You do, or if he can't talk, he might call me right back. Yeah, I hear you, babe. I hear what you're saying, but I'm gonna have to call you right back.
Yeah, I got to call you right back. And it's another deeper meaning, I guess, maybe a deeper explanation of your question is also what happens when one spouse kind of suffers from anxiety. We talk about stress. And we talked about worry
and being anxious in general. Right. Yes. But what if it's a deeper issue?
Yeah.
What if anxiety is a way of life? Not necessarily a way of life, but what if anxiety is an issue? What if it's an illness? What if
it leads to a disorder?
Right. What if it's a disorder
and diagnosed or undiagnosed?
Right. Diagnosed or undiagnosed, because sometimes people have issues that they deal with. Some people are, we have little words and sayings that we make up, like worry wart, they just live a stressed out lifestyle, or, she's always full of anxiety, and sometimes we need to look deeper under the surface and see, well, why are you anxious? If I am often anxious and often worried and often stressed, if it's not just a periodic thing, it's not situational, it's constant, then that is something that we need to be taking a deeper look at, something we need to put under a microscope. Those are the things that we need to have conversation about. And that's why we check in with one another. And then if my spouse notices, or I notice, well, babe, I understand that you're upset about this, or that you feel a certain way about this, but is it possible that there's something else going on? Exactly. Is it possible that something else is bothering you? Because although I understand that you're upset about it, it's taking so much of your time and attention that concerns me. It's not like something's wrong with you, because you always worry. You always, no, not that. Every time you can't handle nothing. Every time I turn around, you got a problem. You a grown woman, or you a grown man. You should be able to, handle yourself. And what we often don't realize is that adults are babies that grew to maturity. Exactly. And we experience many things from birth to now. And some of those things that we have gone through have been damaging, have been traumatic, have been scary, have been have caused rejection, feelings of rejection and fear and insecurity and instability. And with those things comes a response, in our bodies. And in our minds, it can change us. It can cause us to have reactions and negative reactions, and sometimes irrational response to things. And one of those things could be a diagnosis of PTSD or depression or anxiety that has happened as a result of your past. Yeah. Experiences or current experience. Let's say a wife has been in a car accident, or a husband, is a police officer, and he had to, shoot his first perpetrator, and something happened, and that brings on a new issue that can easily bring on stress, worry, and anxiety. Yes, you should not just expect the person to just pick up and go on, because even in that field of work, with that example, whether they want to or not, you're required to take a beat, and you need to go and talk to a counselor, and make sure that you have your head on straight before you get back out on the street. You don't just think, well, I'm a cop, that's what happens. I had to shoot somebody. If that person died, whether they were guilty, whether they were running, or whether they were, whatever they were doing, if you had to put them down, sure, that's what had to happen, but it's also still a life. It's still a life. Someone stopped breathing. Dealing with that, the latest tragedy news of the shooting, the school shootings happened in New York. And I don't know when you're looking at this, but hopefully you're not dealing with another one that's in the future. But if you are, that it's just can be so stressful when you get all the bombardment of the news and your scroll feed on your social media and conversations at work, and you're like, man, what do I do with all this stimuli, all this information that I'm just like, I don't want to feel this pain that I feel, but I do, and I feel it hard. And when we get to the point of dealing with being anxious about things or dealing with anxiety, you can have chronic anxiety disorder, or you can just be like very anxious, like uncontrollably. It's a definition of anxiety that I want to read. Anxiety can be defined as a feeling of fear, dread, or uneasiness. So when you get to a point where, and sometimes it can be uncontrollable. It's like it came on all of a sudden. I don't know what. Yeah, you heard a door slam and it startles you, or and then that can progress into sometimes panic attacks, that people have. Well, I feel like I'm having a heart attack. Well, just breathe deeply, if you can calm down or whatever. It just, our body is not meant to hold stress. We have responses. We have fight or flight, tongue-tied, fight or flight, fight, flight, fawn, and there's another one. But anyway, our body has reactions. And so it's not just our physical reactions, but it's what's happening biochemically within us, what's happening inside of us. We have, different parts of our brain that handle that stimuli. Our response is different. Our blood flows differently during those times. Our heart beats at a different rate during those times. Our breathing changes during those times. And so when we, they're meant to be temporary situations so that we are alerted to danger and we are able to act on that, to protect ourselves, to fight or to run, or fawning. That's like you just kind of collapse into it and you don't know what to do. It's the person you're saying, why she fall down to the floor, the man chasing her instead of getting up and running away. Your body just reacts. And so what happens sometimes with us when we go through traumas, we're dealing with things, is when we stay in that state. Yes. When we stay in that state of fight, flight, fear, or fawn, we are not our normal, centered, calm self. And if a person has dealt with a lot of trauma, I mentioned before, in their past, maybe they have learned how to survive in that by staying in that mode. And then that doesn't necessarily match the lifestyle that they're leading, but they haven't learned how to come out of it.
I know in your in the previous work that you've done, you dealt with a lot of cases like these, and you did research on them. And so what happens when someone is in that state? Like, what kind of steps? What can somebody do? Is there anything somebody can do? I mean, other than, I know we need therapy. I know we need to deal with those issues. But I'm talking about, like, right now, if someone is going through anxiety so severe, at that moment, it's not like it's panic attacks all the time, but it's a moment right now where we're having excessive fear, excessive dread. Like, what can, in this case, we're talking about spouses, what can a spouse do to help?
Right. Well, first of all, I want to say the former work that he's speaking of is I worked in human trafficking prevention and education. And what happened with that is sometimes during seminars and teachings, there will also be other people who worked in the field, social workers, licensed clinical social workers, law enforcement, different non-governmental organizations, nurses, doctors, that we were trying to help understand the mind and the activities of a person, the habits of a person who may have been trafficked. And so I cannot speak professionally because I'm not licensed in any of those areas. But what I have learned is that you want to make sure that you let the person know that they are safe. And you want to bring them, present, because they may, in their mind, they're trapped in something has triggered them back to another memory that's causing the response that they're having. So you want to let them know that they're okay. You want to, help them breathe. Make sure they're breathing in and out. That's a simple thing. Also, you want to ask them how they're feeling. Yes. What can I do for you? What's bothering you? How can I help you? And sometimes you just need to sit and listen. Sometimes you just need to be quiet. You may need to be in the room with them and not say anything.
Yeah. I think I've heard, I don't know, it was a pastor, maybe just somebody that we knew close. But they said sometimes you just have to, sit and not try to solve the problem. Like, because especially if you really don't know this is going to solve the problem. Right. Like, that person just really wants to vent and they really want to work through the feelings, like a gear. And then they say this is my analogy, but like work through they want to work through them, and then then they get to a place where, you know what, thank you for listening. You know, until they really, and I've learned to not really try to offer what I think you should do, until really, unless you really ask
you.
Yes, you know,
you're good about that. Well, what you need to do is stop worrying about it. You always do this. Every time I turn around, stop second guessing yourself. Blah 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 blah. He doesn't do that. It's just, you know, I'm listening, and sometimes when you know that someone is there. And you can realize, okay, I am okay. You know, the situation is not going to escalate. I'm safe. And your presence causes me to feel safe. And so then maybe I can get to a point where I start to say, you know what, I think I can get a grip on this. Or I think I might need some help getting a grip on this.
And that's leads to my bonus. I don't know if I gave numbers, but one of the last things I want to leave with is that sometimes we just need another party. You need somebody to come in or go to and talk to about whatever issue you're dealing with. Now, like my wife said, we're not licensed therapists. So we're not going to make any false claims, but we do offer consultation to be able to deal with relationship issues, marital issues. But when you deal with issues that might have to deal with some kind of disorder, you know, we recommend seeking professional therapy. Somebody that can actually went to school for years to deal with the issue of anxiety disorder or chronic eating or whatever it issue that you're facing, you know. So with that said, I hope this blesses you. I hope this helps you. And also, you know, we always teach from biblical principles. That's just what saved us, is what gave us, you know, a way when we thought there was no way. And we're going to always offer prayer to anyone that desires prayer in those situations. So if that's you please leave a comment and let us know. Or you can, if you listen to this on the podcast or the radio show, you can go to our website at couplespursuit.com and it's a contact link right there. You can just shoot us an email if you have something else that you really want to talk about, and I really don't want to type it in, you know, a comment section. Right. But I really just want to I need some issues to help with this. But if you really want to talk, we do offer a free 30-minute consultation. And I urge you to take advantage of that, because with that, we might as well call it a clarity session. Because with that, we're going to listen, write down all the issues that we deal with, and we're going to maybe try to see if we can nail the root and address what's going on. And then, you know, we offer other services after that, and we can let you know of those. But if you want to get to our free masterclass, which is I think the root of a lot of things is the way we communicate with one another. Once again, we're talking about how to comfort your spouse when dealing with stress, worry, or anxiety. And a lot of those things deal with the way we communicate with one another effectively. Or sometimes we do it ineffectively. And it causes a whole group of other issues. And that right there, that resource is available to you, the free masterclass that we offer. And it's at couplespursuit.com/communication. I think it would be a great resource for you just to view and to see what we would say if we had a chance to talk to you. And then if you want to talk some more, then our services are available for that.
Yes, absolutely. I also want to say another way. You mentioned, you know, that we always teach from talk about biblical principles, and, you know, and saying that you can ask us for prayer if you and your spouse, you know, are having issues. It's often a good idea to pray for. It's always a good idea to pray for one another. It's an even better idea to pray together.
Yes.
So that you can invite a third party into the relationship. The power of the Holy Spirit, the power of God to bring healing and comfort and peace into your life is immeasurable.
Yes.
And so, you know, that is something that we also recommend. And of course, there are people watching from, you know, could be watching from anywhere in the world. And, you know, maybe they don't believe as we believe, but we want to offer you what helped us. And so if you're able to talk and pray with one another, because prayer is it's an invitation for God to come in and help you with your problems, and it will give you peace in a way that is unimaginable. And then I'm not sure if you mentioned having patience. Did we talk about that?
No.
Okay.
You kind of addressed a lot of that in the talk when you what you recommend for someone that's dealing with anxiety.
Right.
You kind of summed all that up. So.
If you've heard this and you know someone who may be dealing with this, or you just want to share it, sometimes we are friends with people whose side we only see, the side of them we see is only the work side or the fun side or the church side or whatever. And sometimes we are, when we're in the presence of others, we like to maintain as if we have it all together. We want to keep it together. And you never know who's in need of what. And so the person that you sharing it may put it into the hands and before the ears and eyes of a person who needs to hear this. So don't ever assume that well, I'm not going to share it because nobody needs to, I don't need this, so maybe nobody else needs it. But oftentimes I have shared something and I think, oh, this is kind of vulnerable. It's a little bit revealing. And then I get the responses, you know what, I really needed to hear that. Or thank you so much for being so transparent. Or, I'm glad I'm not the only one that's going through this. So, feel free to do that. And we want to thank you in advance for doing so. More than anything, we do this to help others. Yeah,
if you find yourself you went through all that heartache, those issues, and you got to the other side of that, and that testimony alone can help somebody else. Man, share it. Why not share it? Like my wife said this many times before. It's like getting to a good restaurant or having a good dish. It's like, wow, try this. This is good.
Oh, this is so good. You got to go there. Or you got to taste this.
Yeah.
Why keep it all to yourself? Yeah. Not everything is going to be for you, but as we learned in the past, you eat the chicken and you spit out the bones. What's not for you, you toss it aside.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, again, we thank you for being with us tonight. We pray that you are well and that your families are well during this time where we are dealing with some heavy issues in our nation surrounding gun violence and mass shootings, et cetera, et cetera. So there are a lot of people who are full of stress and full of anxiety. As a matter of fact, one of the teachers who was killed in the shooting most recently, 2 days later, her husband died of a heart attack. And I can only imagine the stress and the anxiety and the worry that was present for him.
And so that leads to, we talked about, the title of this message is How to Communicate and Comfort Your Spouse. But, this same principles can be applied to other loved ones and people that especially when you're going through issues that's so traumatic and so sudden, as a death in your family or anybody else's family, and that you can have access to them and be able to share a caring word, being able to have a lending ear, a listening ear. That's the word I was looking for. But and all these things we talked about in this video, that they can still apply to just another loved one, because we all need each other. We're here to edify each other. We do focus on the marriage because we know that strong marriages make strong families, and strong families make strong cities make strong communities, strong communities make strong cities, and strong cities make stronger nation, and stronger nation makes a better world. So we do focus on the marriage, but there are still people that's dealing with issues every day. And if you can be a listening ear for them and someone they can talk to, I urge you to do that too also, because somebody is dealing with some pent up stuff and they don't know how to release that valve. They don't know. They just keep it up until we get more pent up stuff, and it can blow up and it can burst. And I think that's a lot of root of a lot of causes of sudden trauma that happens throughout our nation. So, do your part and be able to talk. If you're available, make yourself available.
So again, thank you for tuning in with us tonight. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, or you can reach us if there's a question that's sensitive to male or female. You can email us at the both of us at support@couplespursuit.com, or you can email me at Valerie at couplespursuit.com, or Vincent at couplespursuit.com.
That's right. They go straight to me, and when to Valerie, go straight to her.
Right.
You know, if you don't want me in your business, it's okay. It's okay. We're here to help.
Exactly. And anything that you share is absolutely confidential. So thank you all so much for tuning in with us tonight. And until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you, and give you peace as you continue to pursue your mate. We'll see you next time on Couples Pursuit Live.
Bye.